Hey everybody, Tom Lenfestey. I'm an attorney, CPA, and founder of the Law Practice Exchange. We've been helping lawyers and law firms buy and sell law practices for almost the last decade. And in that time, one of the key questions we get asked all the time is, how do I sell my law firm? But I'm not ready maybe to retire. I want to control my timeline, my professional timeline. And also, of course, I want to maximize the price I would get for my law firm. So let's talk just a few quick minutes about how to do all three of those things. How to sell, how to keep control of your timeline, and how to maximize your price while doing it. And when we go through this, I'm going to explain in different steps. First and foremost is, what's selling a law firm? Selling a law firm is taking everything that you've built as an owner, as a practitioner, that you have, the relationships that you have, that your firm has, the systems, the structures, the trained personnel, everything that makes the machine go and produce revenues from those clients, that book of clients that you have, all of that, and transfer it to somebody else. But we do it over time. We do it over a transition-based exchange where you work to really be the goodwill ambassador after you sell the firm, so that those relationships, those clients, everybody feels taken care of, and most importantly, they move over to the buyer. So largely we're talking about the revenues, the profits, the systems, everything that you've built, and being able to transition those over. That's selling, but remember, it's transition. It's not one step, it's not a single transaction, it really is a process. So overall, the next question that we get asked after what is selling is, what do structures look like in selling? Like, I get the concept of selling, but what does it really look like? One of the things that we always point to is end result. So if you've seen attorneys that have joined firms as of counsel, and they're kind of in their retirement stage or otherwise, or they're looking to slow down, a lot of times behind the scenes, that's been a purchase or a sale. They have transferred their book of business over to another firm, and they have joined that firm as of counsel. So overall, they may be over there and getting paid based on the purchase price, the acquisition, the success of that, and they may still be doing work. So they control their timeline, but they're over there as of counsel. So to the outside world, that's what it looks like. Behind the scenes, there's been a financial, legal, other professional transaction to really sell and purchase that law firm. You may also see a structure that looks like a firm merger, right? You see certain firms come together. Some of the big firms will do this, but some of the small ones also. Is you see them come together, a firm name change, or one takes on the adoption of the other. It's based on geographic, practice area expansion. A lot of times you'll see those and you'll look to, oh, this is great. These parties have gotten together for some synergy. A lot of times on our end, again, behind the scenes, we're seeing the financial and other transaction of purchase and sale occur, but to the outside world, they see that merger. The other component a lot of times is you may just add somebody, right? Maybe you're a solo practitioner or a small partnership and you're going to add an individual attorney to that, and it may be that the firm name changes based on the admission of that partner. Now that new attorney that you added may have purchased the firm, but you're going to bring them in and create this new partnership, this new firm, and so to the clients, to others, they don't see the disruption. They don't see the throw of the keys to somebody and walking out the door. Again, selling is a transition-based exchange. So all of these, whether it's of counsel, firm merger, acquisition, anything you want to call it, as far as it is essentially a continuation of what you've built and continuing to serve clients to prevent disruption. And that's the biggest thing. When we're preserving that value, that goodwill, we want to prevent that disruption. So these structures may look very different, but behind the scenes, trust me, we're dealing with a lot of purchase and sale. The key is how the public, how clients, how communities receive that, and we can definitely help structure that in a less disruptive manner. So that's number two, is what do the structures look like? Because I need to know for my timeline and otherwise what these potentially would be down the road. The third one is, when do I need to start? So if I want to kind of look at selling, when do I need to start that process? First lesson, you can't time the marketplace, right? So if you're looking at having that great firm year and then you're going to look to cash out within 12 months, it's not going to happen. We tell every client that we talk to, every prospective talk that we do, at least 2 to 3 years, because really in our transition-based exchange, you're going to be working after the fact for some period of time, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. You'll be working on that time frame with somebody to transition, be that goodwill ambassador. So you at least have that amount of time. Then it takes time to prep, to get into market, to find that potential buyer, to negotiate that deal, to move through due diligence. So the time is when you're ready to go, but give yourself as much time as possible. The more time you go, all you have is more options. You have more ability to control your timeline. So if you start 5 years out from when you actually want to retire, the only thing that could potentially happen is you find the right strategic successor, that right buyer that gives you the terms for value of ownership of your firm, and you're going to continue on as an of-counsel relationship or as a partner or otherwise under that framework for your period of time that you want to keep practicing. And you're going to make money doing it. You're just not going to have the ownership piece anymore. That burden, as well as potentially that benefit's going to be paid for and transacted. So give yourself time. You can't do yourself a disservice by giving yourself more time in the space overall to explore who are those right options in the market. Can they really happen? Because again, it does take time, and the more you provide, the more options and opportunity you'll have. Fourth point on this, how do I maximize my price? Really, how do I make sure that I built my firm to maximize that price given all these components? I'll give you 4 quick things. Payment terms, that's number 1. Transition plan, number 2. Financials, number 3. And business goodwill or entity law firm goodwill is number 4. So first of all, payment terms. The more flexible you are on payment terms to accept essentially performance-based or what we'd call earn-out structure, the higher potential price you will receive, right? Less risk to the buyer, more opportunity to maximize that price, a win-win type of opportunity, but you are accepting some risk in that component as well. Those work great though. They're a key component of every deal we do because law firms are mostly goodwill, and most buyers want you really vested as a potential seller into that platform. So, payment terms, big component, more flexibility, higher price typically. The other option I mentioned was transition plan. We really define a transition plan as overall you and the buyer working together prior to closing to develop a transition plan that's going to be how are clients going to be taken care of by the next generation owner? How are those going to be handed off? How are referral sources going to be met with, discussed, told about the continuation and great things that are come from the next generation of ownership of the practice? How do we make all of that work? The legal work, the management, the marketing, everything else, and how does it actually fall into an accountability plan so that you as the seller can slow down on your timeline and the buyer doesn't miss a beat by not losing out on referrals or client revenues or anything else. Transition plans are a key component, are very successful, and that's a key element to maximizing your price. The more you'll devote to the transition plan element, the more successful it will be for you and for any buyer. The other part, of course, is financials. We talk a lot about the valuing of a law firm, right? We have lots of videos, lots of resources on that. But overall, if your firm doesn't have the financials, in revenues and in profits, the benefits to you as being an owner, of course, that's going to hurt you. So contact us if there's questions about that or anything else. But financials are, of course, going to play a huge part in it. If you've got good, strong revenues and good, strong profits year after year, that's going to be a great picture to paint to the buyer, a great valuation, because that's something then that they can take over and look to preserve, make all the numbers work, make the investment work for purchasing and going forward from there. So financials, of course, are a key important part of that. The last one I'm going to mention, of course, is law firm goodwill. We talk in other videos about the separation of value being goodwill attached to you as the owner, the attorney, the individual, and then that attached to your firm. The firm or business goodwill is such a key component. We've run into law firms that have all personal goodwill. So that individual attorney needs to spend time to really hand off slowly those relationships very carefully, right? Kind of move through to transition over those revenue relationships to the buyer. It takes time. It's your time, buyer's time otherwise, and also kind of bears more potential risk. However, on the business or the law firm goodwill, you're talking about marketing plans, systems, approaches that don't involve you as the owner. right? So if you've built a tremendous website that gives you 10 referral, leads a day, that's easy to sell a buyer on. It's also easy to transition, right? Because you're not the key component of that website. Typically, it's run by a system that you've set up, that you've proven successful. If you have teams of people or a team of a person that does a lot of work for you that you've delegated and built systems and checklists and otherwise in, it's a huge value driver as part of that firm goodwill as well. Because a buyer can come in and say, great, I'm going to acquire that key personnel as well, and they can help me drive those revenues forward. They have some of those client relationships. This is going to be wonderful. So how much firm level goodwill value you have is definitely going to maximize your value. Again, with the other components and everything else. So if you want to sell your law firm, control your timeline, and maximize your value, give these some thought, right? Give some other things some thoughts. Watch some of our other videos. Join us on Facebook and Buying and Selling Law Practices group, or just reach out to us. We're happy to be a resource, answer your questions in any way we can. Thanks so much.